Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Just 2 years after releasing their 9th album, 9, Pond is back with their biggest album yet, Stung. With 14 songs on the track list, this is the longest Pond album since Beardwives' Denim in 2012. And like Beardwives' Denim, I really love Stung. Do I think the entire thing is a masterpiece? Well, no, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a lot to like about this album. Whether you're an old school Pond fan who really loves, the Hobo Rocket and the Beardwives' Denim kind of sound, or you're a more recent Pond fan that loves, Tasmania, 9, I feel like all those sounds are represented on this album. And so with that out of the way, let's get into reviewing Stung. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, I have to give a huge shout out to Spinning Top Music for sending me an early review copy of Stung so that I could have this video out by release day. It was so cool of them to do that for me, as, I don't know, I'm just kind of a small YouTube channel reviewing music, and it meant a lot to me that they did that. So thank you so much, Spinning Top Music, and with that, let's get into the review. So I've already made videos talking about 2 of the singles for Stung, including Neon River and I'm Stung. And we'll talk about the title track, I'm Stung, first. Ever since this track released a few months ago, I have been listening to it so much. The guitar riff that is present all throughout this song is just exactly what my brain loves. I mean, when I hear that guitar riff, it's just like dopamine floods my brain. I also really love the part like 2.5 minutes in where it goes like da-da-dun, da-dun-dun. I don't know, it's just so good and an absolutely amazing title track. Neon River was the first single to be released, and it opens up with Jay Watson's just absolutely dreamy vocals. I mean, his vocals are always dreamy, but it's just a standout in this track. And then it switches like back and forth between Jay and these like headbanging Nick Albrook sections where he's like singing with so much passion. And then eventually there's this super psychedelic section like near the end of the song. Just perfect to vibe out to, and a great track. And the final single to be released was Solo, which I did not get a chance to talk about in a video yet, so I'll give my thoughts now. This song reminds me a lot of America's Cup from 9. I just think it's got that kind of same tempo, same kind of groovy feel all the way through, and I really love it. I love how Jay Watson's vocals can be heard in the background, complimenting Nick Albrook. James Ireland, I don't know if he's on this song in particular, but I saw his name a lot in the credits, so he gave his vocals in this album as well. He did very good. Speaking of groovy, I have to give a major shout out to the song Elf Bar Blues. The band teased this song prior to its release, and when I heard it, I was like, I gotta hear this one, I cannot wait, and it was definitely worth it, as this is actually a rare Pond instrumental. I cannot think of any other Pond instrumentals, maybe back on their, Corridors of Blister Day and Psychedelic Mango, Frond, maybe they had one on those, but I don't know, they don't really release too many instrumentals, and this one does not disappoint. Just super groovy and funky, and it reminds me a lot of Sestri Levante, which is a song that Tame Impala had on one of his live albums. So I don't know if Jay Watson had something to do with that song and with this one as well, but they definitely sound very similar. Not similar in a bad way or anything like that, they just kind of evoke the same feeling. Speaking of instrumentals, Black Lung fooled me. When I first heard it, I thought it was just going to be an instrumental track. I mean, the first 1.5 to 2 minutes is just an instrumental, before Nick Albrook just slaps you in the face with his screaming vocals. It really complements the song well, and I also really love Jay Watson's section near the end as well. This is definitely the heaviest Pond song in quite a while. I really love the feeling it evokes. And speaking of heavy, let's talk about Edge of the World Part 3. I am a massive fan of Edge of the World Part 1 and 2 from The Weather. I love all of The Weather, but Edge of the World Part 1 and 2 have always just stuck out to me. I don't know why, they're just an experience. They don't even feel like songs, they feel like an experience. Each one is so different. Edge of the World Part 1 always kind of reminded me of like winter. I always loved the instruments in that one. And then Edge of the World Part 2 is kind of gloomy, but it just has this like rock opera, finale kind of feel to it. And so that's why I was very surprised we ended up getting Part 3. And when I finally got to Edge of the World Part 3, it was almost surreal. I was like, holy crap, I can't believe this is actually happening. And I gotta say, the first like 4.5 minutes, it really does kind of feel like a continuation of Part 1 and 2, especially like the last few minutes of Part 2. I was getting kind of that same feeling where the whole band, at least it feels like that, the whole band is kind of singing together. And again, it has that kind of rock opera kind of feel to it. Before, like the middle of the song, it gets all like techno-y. It kind of reminded me of Silver Chord, like the King Gizzard album that I reviewed last year. And then just absolutely shocking last 3 minutes. Shocking in a good way. It is very heavy. It reminds me a lot of Black Lung, and just, wow. Really, really good song. It's gonna take me quite a few more listens before I can make the decision if it tops part 1 and 2 for me, but it's definitely not a disappointment. This song kicks ass, and it's definitely worth the wait. Taking a complete 180 from the craziness that is Edge of the World Part 3, we head to a much more mellow and chill song with Sunset for the Lonely. This one just feels like a Pond song. Definitely one that kind of sounds like it could have been found on Tasmania, for example. Just very, very chill, and Nick Albrook kills it with his vocals yet again. And speaking of a song that is very chill, I can't forget the opening track to the album, Constant Picnic. Unlike the opening tracks on Man It Feels Like Space Again and Tasmania, this is a much more chill song, more akin to the opening track on The Weather, 30,000 Megatons. The drums on this song are a real standout for me, and I also really love when Nick Albrook sings Here Comes the Sun, and there's like that doo-doo-doo in the background, just very, very relaxing and soothing, and a perfect start to the album. And the last 30 seconds to Constant Picnic transition into the next song, I'm Stung, so well. Just a really, really great track. So far, I've only mentioned 8 of the 14 songs on the album, and there's a reason for that. I just feel like tracks 1 through 8 kind of fly by, in a good way. I remember I was listening to the album for the first time, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm already at Edge of the World Part 3. Like, it didn't feel like it dragged at all. And I will say the rest of the album, I wouldn't say it drags, but it's just definitely a bit slower in some parts, and it's going to take you a few listens before I think a lot of these click with you. Hey, I could be completely wrong. You might listen to this album for the first time and say, I think the first half sucks, and I think the second half is, like, perfect. You know, everyone's different, but that's kind of the feeling I get. Getting into the songs themselves, we have Stars and Sunken Sheets, which is a very interesting interlude track. This song's just over 30 seconds long, and it features Nick Albrook on vocals, as well as Shiny Joe. He's also singing in it as well, and what can I say? It's a pretty damn good interlude song. Not much more than that. Next up is Boys Don't Crash, and I really, really did enjoy this one. It was, you know, very passionate. It reminded me a lot of Giant Tortoise from Hobo Rocket. That's definitely a good thing. That song is legendary. And yeah, there's just a lot of passion, and it's a very kind of heavy-hitting song, and I really like this one. It's, like I said, it's just going to take a few listens before it becomes like one of my favorites or anything like that, but it also has a very interesting ending. It has like a child singing. I'm really excited to hear the backstory of that. I don't know if it's like, you know, one of the children of one of the band members, or maybe it's a video of one of the band members from way back when they were a kid. Who knows? I'll have to take a look at that. I actually just got the album today. It was perfect timing, and it comes with the lyrics, so I'll have to do a little bit more investigating with that. Most of this album review has been without having the lyrics, and I think that's going to really benefit, you know, songs like Edge of the World Part 3 when I can read along. So, yeah. The last 4 songs on the album are definitely a lot more on the chill side of the spectrum. Definitely not a bad thing or anything like that. I think OUV Ray is a really beautiful song. Nick Albrook, again, his vocals really, really, you know, increase the quality of a lot of these tracks, and this is definitely one of them. Last Elvis wasn't anything that was, you know, mind-blowing or anything like that. Just a really cool, chill, mellow song. One that I'll enjoy going back to in the future. But I have to say I really, really liked Elephant Gun. That is a really good track. Especially with how it starts. I just love the, you know, more unique instrumentation that is going on in this one. And yeah, just a good one. And finally, we reached the end of the album with Fell From Grace with the Sea. And yeah, this one's a pretty damn good one as well. It's definitely got some connections to the opening track, Constant Picnic. So that really does give the album a kind of complete feel. You know, it's got its starting and it's got its ending. So that's definitely a positive for it. Shiny Joe Ryan joins in with his vocals. And yeah, it's just a really great outro song to the album, and it wraps up Stung. I have to say, I think the first half of this album really, really kicks ass. It is just so, so good. And I think the last 6 tracks or so just are going to need some time to grow on me. Not that they're bad or anything like that, just nothing mind-blowing. There's a few standouts, but I'll have to say that my favorite tracks primarily come from the first half. In regards to my favorite song on the album, it's very tough. I really, really love the title track, I'm Stung. I think that song just perfectly encapsulates the album. It's so catchy. It gets stuck in my head in a good way. But I also have to give nods to Edge of the World Part 3. The hype was so real for that song, and it did not disappoint. Just so, so good. And I would say Elf Bar Blues is another one that stood out. Neon River. This is a winner of an album, and it's really tough to pick a favorite, but I'd say those are the first ones that come to mind. So what are your thoughts on the singles for Stung? Are you excited to hear the full album when it drops tomorrow? Let me know, and if you're watching this after it's already released, let me know your thoughts on the album. What are some of your favorite songs from it? And what do you think the future of Pond will entail? Because this is just such a good way to wrap up their first 10 series of albums, and I am very excited for the future. Once again, thank you so much to Spinning Top Music for providing me an early copy of Stung. Such a cool experience getting to have the album early and make this review, so thank you to them. And thank you to all for watching, and I will see you all in my next video.